What's up, everybody? We are finally back. It's been a long off season, but we're here. And you may be thinking, NFL preseason DFS picks? That's right, we're here. That's what we do. Browns versus Jets Hall of Fame game, FanDuel, DraftKings, top plays, picks, and sleepers. Everything you need to crush preseason DFS. Welcome. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, joined by our NFL manager, Chris Rooney. Chris, I just talked to you maybe 12 hours ago. What's up, man? Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Brian. Happy NFL season. I know for most you're thinking, oh, Hall of Fame game. The NFL season's not here yet. Listen, come along for the ride here. NFL preseason has been very, very exciting and profitable for our subscribers, for many players in the NFL daily fantasy world for many years. And we're happy to get the ball rolling here again in 2023.
Exactly. So what you're going to see in this video, we're going to give out four plays, and actually it's more than four plays. It's four groups of plays that you need to play tonight if you don't want to be drawing dead, right? You don't have to play all four of these plays or all four of these groups of plays, but if you're not playing some combination of these plays, you are absolutely not going to win any preseason DFS contest tonight, whether it's FanDuel or DraftKings. So we're going to give you those four plays. Then at the end, Chris and I are each going to give you a play that we know is going to be 5% or less in the largest GPPs on both sites. And as we know, for other sports, you need those types of plays to win the biggest prizes. And what better video to watch to win those prizes? I have won $25,000 GPPs in every single preseason in each of the last 4 years. And our subscribers have won five figures multiple times in each of the last 4 years because, without a doubt, we give you the best preseason DFS information. Our entire staff stops what they're doing and works on this for the next month, and we don't miss anything. So let's jump into it, Chris. And I'll kick it to you first. This has been popular. The field has caught on, but I still don't think people are playing this position group enough in Hall of Fame preseason DFS. So why don't you talk about those two units and why we need to play them tonight?
Definitely tonight, Brian, the defenses are the highest floor position that you can play. It's even okay to play both of them in a majority of your high risk lineups tonight because of that. With the split playing time at every single position, every team's going to be playing at least four running, or both teams tonight are going to be playing at least four running backs. They're going to be playing 6, 7 wide receivers, 2 to 4 tight ends. So there's not as much opportunity to go around with the skill players. The defense is going to be out there for the entire game and accrue a normal amount of fantasy points. I believe the average fantasy points for defenses in Hall of Fame games, also preseason week 1 for most teams, is around 7 points. You're going to be hard pressed to find 7 points tonight from any play on the board. So the defenses are probably the first thing you should consider. If you're looking for a rule, I would say minimum one defense in your lineups tonight.
Yeah, at least one, and in smaller contests, just play both. And we've even seen, and this is a phenomenon that we've seen for other sports as well, but at preseason DFS, you don't have to be perfect to win your cash games. You don't have to be perfect to win your small field GPPs. And hell, you do not need to be perfect to win the biggest prizes. We've seen where both defenses are not optimal. One has been optimal, maybe not the other, but they have still been in the winning lineups because of the floor that they provide. If you can get 6 players scoring positive points, the defenses are a great start to that. You're in a position to win some big money in the Hall of Fame game. So Browns and Jets, and for those of you that are new to preseason DFS, every player is the exact same price. You don't have to worry about salary cap. And so you just stick them in there. Browns and Jets, two of the top plays tonight. This won't be a secret, but it's still enough of a secret for casual players that you're still worth playing both these units. An extension of that, group number 2 that you need to play are the kickers tonight. Cade York, Greg Zuerlein, they are the only kickers on the roster for these two teams. There have been Hall of Fame games in the past. There have been preseason showdown slates in the past where teams have had multiple kickers on their roster. They split playing time, half for one, half for another. That doesn't give you the full floor and ceiling aspect. We saw Daniel Carlson be the only kicker on the Raiders roster last year, kicked a couple of field goals, ended up in the optimal lineup. And we could have that possibility tonight with Cade York and Greg Zuerlein. Maybe you don't play both. Maybe you play one. Maybe you correlate with your defense or your running backs that you play. But Cade York, Greg Zuerlein, now their floor is 0, right? They could score 0 points, so unlike the defenses here. But they have an upside and a median outcome higher than most other positions for tonight. So, Chris, not super exciting. 2 defenses, 2 kickers. But boring is what gets you 67% of the way there in low-risk contests, in smaller contests. So, for a little more exciting, the third group of guys or team or players you should be playing, who are you looking at?
Well, the next highest floor group available is the quarterback position, Brian. And tonight, the Browns have just two quarterbacks that are expected to play. So we are slightly higher on the Cleveland quarterbacks than the New York Jet quarterbacks. For that reason alone, we have reporting that Kellen Mond, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, is going to start and play the first half for the Browns, and the expectation is fifth-round rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson will get the second half here in this game. In low-risk contests, I definitely think it's okay to play both of them in your lineup, Brian. In high-risk contests, though, we have yet to see two quarterbacks from the same team be in top 10 GPP winning lineups over the last three Hall of Fame games. So I do think you want to pick one here for your high-risk, large field lineups. But quarterback, Browns specifically, very, very good position group tonight.
Absolutely. Do you have a lean on who might be higher owned among the two? And do you have a lean on who might be more productive on the ground? Because we know that's important at the quarterback position.
I think the answer is the same for both, Brian. I think Dorian Thompson Robinson has far more rushing upside than Kellen Mond. Was very, very productive on the ground at UCLA, and he is expected to have a little bit more rushing upside if you look at some of the information that's already out there. One of our partners, for example, Underdog Fantasy, we've been streaming best ball drafts all spring and summer long. They've put out some stat lines for users to consider putting some pick'em slips in for this game. They've got a rushing yardage line for DTR here and not for Kellen Mond. So that means they expect a lot of rushing from him when he enters the game. I think that gives him a higher floor, probably gives him higher ownership tonight as well.
And for the uninitiated, you can confirm this, Chris. A lot of ownership from preseason DFS. Naturally, it is driven by some of the biggest content sites out there. ETR Established Runs one, the biggest one. They drive a lot of the ownership. But the underdog prop lines drive a lot of ownership as well. People who don't want to do a lot of research, don't subscribe to sites. They may just look at the prop lines, play the highest guys, and those guys end up with the highest ownership, right?
Absolutely. And they have, just looking at Underdog right now, Brian, obviously we're recording at about 11 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast, so this could change closer to lock depending on when you're watching. But they've got DTR for 26 and a half rushing yards as the stat that you can pick either side on. 7.6 fantasy points, and they've got Kellen Mond for 5.8 fantasy points. So the baseline expectation here is DTR is the slightly better play.
Fair enough. And if we move over to the last position group that you need to look at for tonight, it is running backs overall. But we're going to look at two guys that are probably going to start. And if they don't start, they're going to be playing in the first half of this game tonight. Both have higher pedigrees. John Kelly for the Cleveland Browns. He was touted by a lot of dynasty analysts coming out of college a few years ago. He's been very productive in the preseason when given the chance. And then we have a fifth-round pick, Izzy Abanikanda for the Jets. And whether or not he starts, maybe Michael Carter or Bam Knight get the start, but Abanikanda is expected to get most of the first half run. These two guys are going to be popular. They are talented, which is a big justification to play guys in preseason DFS. And Chris, what do their underdog lines look like to confirm that they will be popular?
Abanikanda and Kelly both looking at Abanikanda 32 and a half rushing plus receiving yards is the line at this point, and with Kelly 33 and a half rushing plus receiving yards. So a higher floor expected for those two running backs from the field, therefore higher ownership. Maybe some opportunity there to exploit in high risk contests though with some other plays on the board, right?
Very professional transition there, Chris. And we're going to talk about two of our favorite low-owned plays that no one in the industry is talking about, that Underdog doesn't even have props for, that you can differentiate in the largest contest. Before we do that, if you like what you've seen so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We're going to be doing these videos every single day that there is a preseason game. Whether it's me, whether it's Chris, or someone else from our team, see these two faces, get familiar with them. Every single preseason slate, we're going to be doing these types of videos. Plays that you have to have, and then differentiators that no one else is talking about. Then, if you want the true information, you want the in-depth content, I'm going to bring up our preseason plug from last year, our daily plug, our playing time notes. This is our flagship article we put out every day that there's a preseason game. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to scroll through really quickly. We talk about the betting markets, right? Who are the biggest favorites? Who are the highest team totals? We give our favorite plays, ranked, low risk, and high risk. We give all the stack options for every single team. This is especially important for classic contests. We grind through, our entire team grinds through camp reports, practice reports, historical information to look at which quarterbacks are playing with which pass catchers. Now, we're not done. We talk about, on the classic slates, we even give you showdown rankings for the premier showdown slates. Then, We give you low risk, high risk, mass multi entry lineup strategy for each individual slate, customized based on the players and the information. We give you contests to target. And then finally, if you want to dive super deep, you want to know all the information that we're working with, we literally give you notes and information on every player, on every position, on every team on the slate, super deep. And not, Chris, I think some sites may do this, not to the in-depth access that we do, but we also talk about historical trends. And maybe you could just touch on that briefly, why that's so important and how profitable and predictive it truly is.
Once again, a very professional transition. I had something teed up for this right away, Brian. We know that NFL coaches are creatures of habit, and we know that if we can look at how they have previously deployed their players in prior preseasons, in week 1 or Hall of Fame games, week 2, week 3, we can glean some information on how they plan to deploy this year's players in their games. We have looked through that for both Kevin Stefanski with the Cleveland Browns and Robert Saleh's staff with the New York Jets to come up with the plays that we think are going to see the most time on the field in this game. And snaps equal money here in preseason if we can nail that and get the opportunities correct. So, Brian, I do have a wide receiver that I think is one of my favorite low-owned, high-risk plays on the board tonight. We know that the Cleveland Browns are going to play their third-team wide receivers much more heavily than any other unit within the position there, because that's how they have deployed their assets over the last couple of preseasons. Last year, they had 2 wide receivers play over 40% of game snaps from the third unit. In this particular preseason, that suggests that Cedric Tillman, Dalen Baldwin, and Austin Watkins from the Cleveland Browns are all going to be playing a lot. Baldwin and Tillman are expected to be much higher owned than 2023 USFL Birmingham Stallion wide receiver Austin Watkins. So Austin Watkins is my favorite high-risk play tonight.
Love that analysis, Chris. And Watkins, if you watch, you don't have to watch, we do it for you. All the practice reports, has caught multiple deep balls throughout practice. So again, when the medium outcome for most players is 1 or 2 points and the ceiling outcome is 12 points, and we got guys who can catch deep balls, Austin Watkins at 5% or whatever he's going to be, could be the true differentiator if he does catch one of those deep balls. Now, to Chris's point, this is our snap and opportunity data. I'm pulling it up on screen. This is for our members at OccupyFantasy.com. You want to do your own research. You want to check out what happened last week in future weeks. You want to see, how did the Browns deploy their guys last year? Or next week, what actually happened last week in the Browns-Jets game? You come in to our snap count and opportunity data dashboard. You can look at all the snap counts, look at all the targets, all the opportunities for every player dating back to the last 3 years. Again, we update this a couple days after each game, so you have all the updated information. Again, you're not going to get more information in preseason DFS than at OccupyFantasy.com. Now, for my play, we talked about John Kelly. We actually didn't talk about, Hassan Hall is going to be popular as well, because there's a very prominent beat reporter posted an Athletic article said, expect a lot of work from John Kelly and Hassan Hall in this game. Demetric Felton is another guy who's been on the team, catches passes. He's going to be popular, relatively speaking, to other players on the board here. But there is a fourth Cleveland Brown running back that is going to play the exact same amount of time, maybe a couple snaps here or there, as these 3 guys, and he's going to be less than 5% owned. We saw last year in the Jacksonville Raiders Hall of Fame game, a less than 5% running back, Nathan Cottrell, was the optimal captain. No one played him, despite him going to get similar playing time as the other running backs. So we're going to go with that same approach here in Nate McCrary. Former Raven, former Bronco, actually got a lot of carries a couple preseasons ago. Now, the Ravens try to win preseason games like you and I tried to win at Life, so we have to take it with a grain of salt. But McCrary has been talented, has done work in the past, and is probably going to get a quarter of work here, and is going to be a fraction of the ownership. So, Chris, I'll pass it back to you. It looks like a very straightforward Hall of Fame slate if you can mix and match some of these lower-owned options, but people have to play the top-owned plays because they're too good to not play in a Hall of Fame game slate.
100%, Brian. I'm looking forward to building my lineups tonight. I'm sure you are as well. Let's just recap really quickly for the people. Should play at least 1 defense in high-risk contests, probably 2 in your smaller field and low-risk lineups. I think you should play at least 1 quarterback. We're in favor of the Cleveland Browns tonight just because they have less quarterbacks playing, 2 versus 3 for the New York Jets. Kickers can have a high floor, so they're pretty good low risk plays. And there are a couple of running backs that we expect to carry the ownership that are really, really good in low risk. That's John Kelly with the Cleveland Browns should be starting, and Israel Abanikanda with the New York Jets.
Thanks for that summary, Chris. And as Chris was talking, I was scrolling on our landing page here on OccupyFantasy.com. Everything you get for the 2023 NFL preseason DFS as little as $7 a week. The link is in the description below to access everything. So just a quick recap. You get the playing time notes and top plays article that we pointed out earlier. You get access to the snap count opportunity data. You also get access to our lineup builder. You can build up to 300 preseason DFS lineups. All the top plays that are in our article, our staff is going to go in, designate them in our lineup builder, and you can add them with a click of a button to your lineups. Very simple. And then you get access to our breaking updates. That's free. We're going to do that on Twitter and in our Discord, occupyfantasy.com/Discord. And we're going to do these videos every single slate. So make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up if you appreciate the content. And any questions you have, Discord is undoubtedly the best way. If you have any high-level questions that you think a lot of people can benefit from, comment on this video below, and we'll get back to you before the slate starts. But again, OccupyFantasy.com is where you get all of the best preseason DFS information. And again, all the links you need are in the description below. So for Chris, at Rooney FFB on Twitter, I'm at Brian Jester FF. Good luck. Football is back. Enjoy it. And we'll see you next week.